Hello everyone and welcome along to the Debrief live on the Blood Red channel after another shocking, disappointing result for Liverpool as they concede a last-gasp goal to lose 2-1 to Leeds United at Anfield. Well, Theo Squires joins me, Patrick Smith, live from Anfield. Now, Theo, your initial reaction to that one, another awful display from Liverpool.
Yeah, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. This is a new low for Liverpool's season. We've had a number of times this season where they've had disappointing results and then they've put in a response, I suppose, like against Ajax, and you think, right, this is corner turned, and then you just straight back to square one. But with this coming at Anfield, it isn't a new low. Like the last two Premier League games, they've lost to Nottingham Forest and Leeds United now. Teams in the bottom three who could easily be relegated in the Championship next season. There's something broken with Liverpool at the moment, whether it's confidence or all the issues can go on about the squad we said before. They've lost their belief. Like, they had chances tonight, don't get me wrong. Nunes has missed a couple and Salah's missed a couple as well. But when they did have shooting opportunities, everything was just straight at the goalkeeper. And even when they had these shooting opportunities, not once did you have that fire in your belly that you believe Liverpool were going to find a way to win this game. It's like something that was so obvious when they were winning Premier League and Champions League titles that they'd never say die. They always had this self-belief that they'd find a way to get a late goal. And this season, that's deserted them completely. A draw would probably have been a fair result. It was a strange game. So many mistakes from both sides, misplaced passes, players slipping up. It felt like a cup game. It was nitty-bitty, it was gritty. It wasn't pretty to watch. And then it's just typical that Liverpool go and concede a last-minute goal like that to a struggling team. It's a new low. And they're going to have to do some really big, deep soul-searching this week to turn it around. Like, they could have gone right behind United and Chelsea if they got a win today, and that would have been up to 7th. And this is Liverpool Football Club. We shouldn't be talking, you're going up to 7th. They should be challenging in the top 4 for titles. Instead, you just need to get back into top 4 contention. And every time it seems like they're within a whisker of being on the coattails again, they just find a way to mess it up and go even further behind. It's been an awful first half of the season. Thank goodness the World Cup break's nearly upon us. You just hope that whatever they do in the mid-season training camp, they can turn it around, because whatever they've been doing at the AXA training centre so far this season, it's just not working.
I mean, you mentioned that it felt like a cup tie of a match. I think it felt like a mid-table side playing a side that's in the relegation battle, to be honest. It was really, really poor from Liverpool. We've mentioned the lapses in concentration, the mistakes. They've been happening so many times this season, and tonight's just the most prime example of Liverpool's start to the season. I mean, the Joe Gomez back pass to Alisson that's easily intercepted, it's just perfectly encapsulates how poor Liverpool have been this season, Theo, doesn't it?
Yeah, like how many times this season have Liverpool conceded sloppy goals early on in the trail games, and they're having to give themselves a lot of hard work to do to get back into it. And this one's the biggest gift-wrapped opening goal of the lot. Joe Gomez with a back pass. I suppose we're not really saying anything about the pass if Alisson doesn't slip, because he's then on his feet and will be able to pick it up, punt it upfield. But between them, they've made a mess of it. Alisson's in a weird position. He slips up. Gomez has played it completely away from the keeper in the first place, and Rodrigo's given the easiest goal of his career. It is just a sign of Liverpool's season. I suppose when you concede an opening goal like that, we shouldn't be surprised that Leeds have won it today, that Liverpool showed no fight to ever threaten to get the 3 points. Yeah, it's a new low.
And over the past few weeks there, there's been lots of talk about the change in shape and formation, whether it's a 4-3-3. That throughout the game today, actually, it changed from a 3 to a diamond to a 2. I mean, do you think there's absolutely no case for the diamond formation now, as today proves probably prime example, and they should go back to the 4-4-2?
It's a tricky one because they've got so many injuries to players in certain areas that they've had to change formation. I believe if you didn't lose Diaz and Jota to injury, we'd probably still be seeing the 4-3-3. It's just they've had to go to the 4-4-2 and then the diamond because they don't have him on that left-hand side. But then the 3-0 result over Ajax, that papered over the cracks, because like the diamond was pretty poor for the first, half an hour? Yeah. They could have easily been 2-3-0 down in Amsterdam, and then they've come out of it with a 3-0 win, thinking, maybe there's something that works here. But it's just not clicked today. Like, there were glimpses of the front two working well together, Salah and Nunes linking up, causing trouble. But Firmino, he wasn't quite working as number 10. And while Thiago's probably one of the few players to come out of this with a little bit of credit, it was another poor performance from Fabinho. And Harvey Elliott, it was one of his worst games for Liverpool, really. He was getting bullied. He was giving the ball away easily. And he's just he always wants that extra second to get back onto his favoured left foot. And in a diamond, you're not afforded that second. You probably need your right footer on your right side, your left footer on your left side to complement the shape. And it just doesn't work because you're playing even more narrow in a very narrow system anyway. Now, Klopp and the training and coaching staff, they'll be well suited to this. They'll know everything about the system more than I could argue. And if they've not seen those flaws, there's a reason why they still want to keep Elliott on that right-hand side. We think Thiago's probably best on the left anyway. But yeah, it's another case of it didn't click. It's like, where do they go next? Like, fortunately, against Napoli, well, in the Champions League, they're already through. And I don't think we realistically expect them to be able to put in a result that gets them top spot. So we can expect to see changes there, whether that's Konate comes in, change at fullback. But then really what else is left in the squad to rotate here is what Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain comes in. Naby Keita. Oxlade-Chamberlain can't.
Neither of them can play the Champions League.
Neither of them can play. So then you're stuck with these midfielders. You're right. Is it James Milner who comes in? Fabio Carvalho who comes in? And then what formation? There's so many limited options. Yeah, at the same time, this squad tonight, it's the first time they've not had to name 2 goalkeepers. They've not had to have a player on the bench who's rushed back from injury just to make up numbers. And there's not an endless list of kids to make up numbers. It's as strong as it's been for a while. And you're still looking at this list of substitutes, and it's uninspiring. There is no one on that team sheet that can come in and win them this game. But then there's no one in the starting 11 who stood up and said, I can win you this game. It's just all falling apart from Liverpool now. Yeah, it's just not working, is it? You can point fingers at so many of the players here. Like Salah gets his goal and he's had chances. Nunes has had chances. But no one's grabbing it by the scruff of the neck.
I mean, the point you made there about the midfield being so narrow with the left footer on the right side and right footer on the left is so true. We've got so many comments talking about this as well. But I think that inherently affects the attack because most of the comments here about Mohamed Salah now playing in a central role, he gets so isolated, barely has any room because there's no width on the pitch. Darwin Núñez creates space for himself, but Salah has been so quiet there, hasn't he, in this new formation?
Yeah, it's a strange one with Salah because he's got 11 goals for the season now. And he's shown glimpses when he's in the danger zone. He is getting chances. He is scoring goals. But he's not as fluent as we've ever seen for him. Like, he's had an awful 2022. And we were hoping that the new contract and a summer break would be enough to spark him into life. And it's not quite happened. It's a good finish from him. But he was dipping in and out of the game again. It's just not working. But then when he's on the right-hand side, when we're seeing the 4-3-3, they were keeping him very far on the flanks. And he was isolated in games too. He wasn't getting anywhere near the penalty area to threaten to get goals. And then we saw that glimpse of him against Rangers when he comes off the bench and gets his hat-trick playing central. It's like, oh, maybe this is the real Salah back again. Scoring goals, but it's not enough. But then it's not enough from any of the team at the moment. That's probably what will piece together why Liverpool keep dropping points and keep losing games. And it's just uninspiring performance after uninspiring performance.
I mean, the thing as well, Theo, if you look at the bigger picture, realistically, come the World Cup, Liverpool could be firmly in mid-table and they're going to likely finish second in the Champions League group, which means they're probably going to play one of PSG, Bayern Munich, Real or Club Brugge. I think are the current ones they could face if the English team. Yeah, it could be a really difficult position. And in January, what would need to change in that scenario? Do they need to spend in January to save the season?
Yes, they do. There's plenty of work that needs to be done to this squad. But are the right players going to be available to improve this squad? We've seen already with Artemelo, this was Liverpool being forced to sign a new midfielder, got one on loan, emergency signing, and it was a gamble that's not paid off. Granted, he can't really help it that he's had suffered a serious injury, but it's like Liverpool, they'll be planning months in advance, and we'll say Jude Bellingham, say he's the midfielder they want. You're not going to be able to sign him in January, and even if he did become available and Liverpool have the money to go and get him, do you really choose Liverpool at this time over a Real Madrid or a Man City? They're in this strange position now where they don't know if they're going to be in the Champions League next season. As it stands, the best chance of qualifying is by going on a run and actually winning it this year. They're going to need to improve the squad. They're going to need to sign some players. It looks like they need to sign some forwards. But then last summer and January this year, they were supposed to be revamping the front line. Like we've seen Mane leave, Origi leave, Minamino leave. These are players that could come off the bench and get you goals. Or Mane, so many times he'd get opening goals for Liverpool and win them games. And now they just don't have that. Yeah, Diaz and Jota, long-term injuries, limits the options somewhat. Firmino's having to start most games. You're relying on Núñez to just hit the ground running, and you've only got like Carvalho on the bench. but they've left themselves short. You can't just say, oh, it's injuries, because every single season Liverpool have injuries and they always seem to be short in one position or another, but they find a way to get through. And this year, they're not. It's easy to throw money at it, but then it's still a big task to turn it around, for a signing to come and inspire the whole squad to turn it around. Like Diaz made an instant impact and gave Liverpool a lift, but they're going to need 3 or 4 more players to have that sort of impact to turn this around. You're just hoping that the other teams in European contention, top 4 contention, continue to have slip-ups as well. United and Chelsea will drop points, but there's already this gap to the top 4 now, with Newcastle thrashing Villa today, with Spurs, City and Arsenal. They're not going to be catchable at this rate. Liverpool, something needs to change big time. We keep saying it. The mid-season break is going to be huge for them, but it's more hope than expectation, isn't it? That they can get on the training ground and actually properly piece it back together. Like, something's just got to click. And this is a Liverpool issue that we've seen since, I'm going to say April, since the FA Cup semi-final. They just haven't looked themselves. Like, they've started poorly in games, they've conceded early, at least back towards the end of last season. They found a way to grind out victories against the odds. This year they can't do that, and it's just a mess at the moment. It's been a painful season so far, and for them to turn it around, they're going to have to do some big soul searching in the next week, in the World Cup break, and then see if the January transfer window can bail them out. But who's going to be available? You might have a few reactionary players available after a good World Cup, but then that business is never good. Like, Liverpool work best in the transfer market, where they plan it out months in advance, 2-3 windows in advance. And that's the scary thing. Like, this squad has been planned 2-3 windows in advance, by revamping the front line, by waiting a year for the midfield, and we're just seeing gaps galore. There's a lot of big questions that need to be answered by the team behind Liverpool at the moment. But then we've said this all before.
We have. It's the story of the past year, and it's going to be another really long week for Liverpool supporters. And then hopefully the World Cup can come around soon enough. I mean, it's just a case of waiting for that, and hopefully that's the break they need, because it was such a hectic season last year, and this schedule as well hasn't helped that at all. I mean, Liverpool, the amount of games they played over the last year is pretty crazy. So hopefully something clicks, something changes. I don't know what needs to happen. I don't think anyone knows what needs to happen. I think Jurgen Klopp might not know what needs to happen. I mean, we'll hear from Jurgen Klopp shortly in his press conference. Hopefully we get all the answers then. But for myself, Patrick Smith and Theo Squires, thank you very much for joining us on the debrief, and we'll catch you next time.